Hey everyone, welcome back. We talk a lot about building strong relationships, but what about when things get tough?
That's what we're diving into today.
Exactly. It's all about relationship resilience
Right. How to navigate those rough patches.
and come out even stronger on the other side. We
Yeah.
got some really solid tips to dig into today.
Yeah, these tips offer a great framework for anyone looking to kind of up their relationship game, so to speak.
Okay, let's jump right in. The first one is all about open communication.
It's funny because it seems so simple, right?
It does, but it's really not.
No, not at all, especially when emotions are running high.
Exactly. So how do we actually do it? How do we really master open communication?
Well, I think it starts with creating that safe space for these sometimes difficult conversations.
Okay, I like that. Creating a safe space. How do you suggest couples go about doing that?
Well, let's say, just as an example, a couple is, constantly arguing about something small, like, say, dirty dishes,
Okay, relatable.
instead of letting that resentment build up, right?
Right.
What if they actually sat down and said, okay, this is obviously becoming a recurring issue.
How do we fix it?
Yeah, how can we work together, to find a solution that works for both of us?
I love that. It's all about collaboration, working
Exactly.
together instead of against each other.
Totally.
Okay, tip number 2 is all about being there for each other emotionally.
Yeah, that emotional support.
It's so important, but, sometimes it can be tough, right? Especially if you're also going through a tough time.
Absolutely. You're also feeling the pressure.
Exactly. So how do you show up for your partner when you're struggling yourself?
I think it's about acknowledging that you're both in it together, that you're both going through something.
Empathy.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes, honestly, just having that shoulder to lean on, someone to listen, can make all the difference in the world.
Sometimes just knowing you're not alone in the struggle is huge.
Huge. And, it doesn't have to be grand gestures.
Right.
It's the small things, too.
Yeah, those little things matter.
Like just saying, hey, I see how hard you're working, or giving a hug. Those go a long way.
It's those small acts of love and kindness that really make a difference. Okay, tip number 3 really resonates with me. It's about remembering you're on the same team.
Ah, yes. Such a good one.
I mean, it sounds so
It
obvious,
does.
but when you're in the trenches, so to speak, it's easy to forget.
Oh, it's so easy to fall into that me versus you trap.
Exactly.
Uh,
So how do we shift that mindset? How do we start acting like we're on the same side again?
well, let's say you're hit with a challenge. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's a job loss, whatever it is, right?
Something stressful, yeah.
And instead of blaming each other, what if you said, okay, this is tough.
But we'll get through it.
Yes, we'll figure it out together.
We've got this.
Exactly. It's that us against the problem mentality.
That's what it's all about. Okay, tip number 4 is all about celebrating the small victories. I think it's something we often forget to do, especially during tough times.
It's so easy to get bogged down in the negativity.
Yeah, you focus on what's going wrong.
Exactly. So celebrating those small wins is huge, even if it's something as simple as, you know, finally tackling a chore together you've been putting off.
Or just having like a really great conversation after weeks of arguing.
Exactly. It's those little moments that remind you why you're in it together.
They remind you of the good
Exactly. And they give you the fuel to keep going.
because, let's be honest, sometimes you need that little boost.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, last but not least, tip number 5. And this one can be tricky.
Yeah, this one can be hard for some people.
It's about knowing when to seek outside help.
Knowing when to call in the reinforcements.
Yes. And knowing it's okay to do that.
It's not a sign of weakness at all.
No, it's a sign of strength.
Huge strength.
It takes courage to admit you need help.
100%. It's like if you're sick, you go to the doctor, right?
Get that right.
You don't try to diagnose yourself and operate on yourself.
You'd probably make things worse.
Exactly. So why do we treat relationships any differently?
Right. It's the same thing.
Whether it's a therapist, a counselor, or even just a trusted friend.
Someone outside of the situation who can offer a fresh perspective.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Because sometimes that's all it takes, that little bit of guidance to get you back on track.
Absolutely.
Now, as we're talking about all this, it makes me think that these tips, they're not just for romantic relationships, are they?
That's such a good point.
I mean, they apply to friendships, to family relationships,
Oh, totally.
even in the workplace.
Absolutely.
These principles are universal, right?
Universal. Communication, support, teamwork, celebrating the wins, and seeking help.
It's the recipe for strong, resilient relationships in all areas of life.
That's a great way to put it.
So think about that as you navigate your own relationships. And hey, Maybe even share this deep dive with someone you care about. It could be the start of a really great conversation and some even stronger bonds. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.